I think Dan just came in. There's Dan.
Yeah.
All right, and Ken, you can hear us and see
Yes.
us?
Yep.
Okay, we can't see you, but as long as you can hear us, I guess that's the best thing. So. All right, and Dan, we've got 1 second for you. Says you're connecting to audio. Can you hear us, Dan?
Now we can.
Now you can hear us? Okay.
I don't know. Dan, can you hear us?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay,
There
good.
he is.
Okay, Ken, I see you. I think we have everyone here.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to start the meeting. I appreciate everybody's patience and especially patience with me. But we are making progress. This is better than having no meeting at all. So it's 5:33. I couldn't hear what Tim was saying. We're going to have an abbreviated agenda today because we had part of it last time. And Liz is going to take the meeting minutes for us. And so I'm going to put my speaker comments at the beginning as the chair. So I just wanted to say this is our first Zoom meeting as the town, so we're making new progress. If you're going to be doing or talking to anyone, please mute your speaker so that we don't hear a whole lot of background noise. We are subject to Zoom bombing. If that happens and we can't correct it, I'm going to stop the meeting and then we can restart it or reschedule it. I've been known to crash. I don't know what it is. There's some gremlin, but it's only happened to me twice. If that happens, just stay on there. Give me 5 minutes and I'll be back. And we already talked about that informally, but I want to congratulate Ken and Susan and thank Mary and Jeff, Mary for all of her service and Jeff for running to serve the town.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I guess Mary, the only one we're missing is Mary then, huh? Okay, well, we'll continue without her and maybe she'll be here in a minute. I have to keep checking my deal. Okay, so I want to call this to order. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. There must be some flag somewhere. So I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of
of
the
the
United States
United States
of America,
and
and
to the republic
republic
which
which
stands
nation under God,
under God,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have to do that because Tim always makes the next one, which is
I move we approve the agenda, but not necessarily in that order.
excellent. Do I hear a second to that? Okay, the board members
I'll second
members have to.
Yep.
The board members have to keep their microphones unmuted. So do I hear a second to that?
Yeah, I second it.
That was Dan. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed? The motion's carried. Okay, the consent agenda.
I have nothing in there, John, that I need to pull out. Does anybody else?
I do not. I've looked through all of it and including the dog pickups. I thought were very reasonable.
I did have one question about that.
Yes, Ken.
I just wanted to see how you guys felt about the one from on 319 where he went to a call from Hewitt regarding 2 stray dogs. Let me see. He said he called McGee and agreed to transport the dogs back to his residence from the Humane Society in Woodbury. Is that okay with you guys? That he brought the dogs?
Why make him pay for all of that if they're his dogs? I'm okay with that.
Right. I just wanted to see how you guys felt about that. Because to me, if the guy's dogs were brought up there, he should have went and got his dogs. But
there's a huge fee for that then, plus shots and everything else he may have to do after that.
okay. I just wanted to check because that probably cost us an extra $20 or so.
$20 or Yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to see how you guys felt about it. It's not a big deal to me.
I'm good with it.
Okay, that's
Any-
all.
Okay,
Then I move we approve the consent agenda items as presented.
do I hear a second to that?
I'll second it.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Excuse me, who seconded?
Aye.
Ken did.
Kim,
Ken.
okay, thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to just keep working right through this tonight to try and be as efficient as we can. So the first one we have up is Urchins LLC, preliminary plat for Summer Prairie First Edition.
All right, did everybody get a copy of it?
Yes.
All
I
right,
think I have all the information.
okay. Are there any questions right off the bat in regards to it?
All
guess
the
it's the-
names that the county said were okay are okay? Is that,
Say that again? Yes.
all
Yeah,
the names that the county said are okay, so you're staying with all of them? That's the only question I had.
yes, we are staying with those road names.
Okay,
You changed the ones they suggested though, Ed?
Yes, yep, those are all changed. So now the new ones should be on that planet that you have. Griffin
they
Lane.
are.
Yep, so that was,
Okay.
seemed to be the most discussion we had in regards to this plat were the road names. So, and the other comments that were made from the highway department and Tammy Draxler at Land and Water, ACA has addressed and gotten those revisions into them. So I think Jeff has already sent his email in saying that he was good, probably just waiting for Tammy for her final approval or whatever.
Yeah, I have that letter. I copied the board on it. I guess I don't see you on here. I just assumed you were copied on that. I have the letter from Jeff Durkee on March 20th.
Yes,
From
I
March
did get
2nd.
it.
That's right.
What was the date on that letter?
March 23rd.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
I did not get copied on that, I don't believe.
Okay, it says the plans were submitted, have adequately been addressed. The comments made in my March 2nd review letter. There are still approvals to be had for erosion control and stormwater management from the town, county, community development that must be obtained prior to construction.
Okay, yeah.
That was the gist of it. It was not I have a problems with it letter.
Yeah, that he's good to go, and we just need to get the final from Tammy
Okay,
in regards to being able to move forward with getting the pre-construction meeting set up and everything.
okay. Are there other questions from the board?
No, I don't think so.
I think we've looked at it enough that we should be getting close to
Yeah,
ready to go here.
Then I can make a motion.
I think
I
that would be,
move that we approve the preliminary plat for Summer Prairie First Edition with the following conditions. All items from the letters dated April 9th, 2020 and April 8th, 2020 from community development must be satisfied. Just for your information, the April 8th letter is the one from Tammy that came
Okay.
in along with Sarah's. Number 2, needs stormwater maintenance agreement approved by St. Croix County. Number 3, gang mailboxes shall be placed by the developer on all cul-de-sacs. Number 4, all field accesses must be removed. And number 5, we would like a copy of the signage map approved preliminary plat from St. Croix County. Ed, that's the one that you give a preliminary plat to the St. Croix County and you put all your signage on that and Durkee agrees to it?
okay.
We never used to get a copy of that. I'd like a copy of that so when I charge you for your signage in the final plat, I know what the county has agreed to. It makes
Okay,
it so much easier.
Yeah,
You know what I
okay,
mean?
so we'll get you a copy of the engineering plans because they show those all on the engineering plans, so, okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's it. That's all the conditions.
Okay. And
So you
Tim,
need a
made-
second.
And you made that as a motion. Do I second to that?
Yes.
And that was Dan?
That was Ken, I think, but I'll
Oh, Ken.
second it if not. But did you second it?
I didn't second. You can go ahead.
You did. Okay, so Liz, motion by Tim, second by Ken.
I think Ken said he didn't, so he said Ed could. Or
Dan.
Okay. yeah,
Dan
go
could.
ahead.
Okay,
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
We can't let
Yeah, I
Ed.
better not agree to it.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion?
So the only question I have, does Liz have any questions about that motion?
Nope, I got the dates in here and all
That
the items
last
that you-
one, number 5,
I'm also,
signage map.
got it.
Okay,
I just saying for Liz, if this works, I'm also recording this so I can send her a copy of that too, so. Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah, I have just one other comment or question, and that's on item number 5 on that April 9 letter. And it just really asks a question: is there enough room, for 2 private septic systems, with the larger footprint of the 2-family dwellings? And so I guess my question is just to make sure that as we're approving this, we're not looking just for an answer on it. We're looking for an answer that complies, in other
Yeah,
words.
I spoke with Zach this afternoon or this morning actually, and they'll do kind of a site plan for those 4 lots involved there to show that we can adequately address everything that's in there. So yeah, so there'll be a separate plan that you'll submit to the county for that.
Okay, terrific. Yeah.
what happens if that doesn't? Would you have to
Well,
redo this first phase?
No, then we just wouldn't end up being able to do a twin home on that lot because they're a single family. They're twin home lots.
Okay, I get
So then
it.
they just be knocked down to a single family.
Got it. Okay.
Any other discussions? All those in favor
No,
say
sir.
aye.
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 All those opposed? The motion's carried. Okay. Don't go away yet. I think you're here for other things too.
Yep, I have one more. Yep, that following CSM.
Oh, Don, you asked what I had said originally. Several of them didn't have the agenda, so I read through the agenda in the order that we had while you were trying to get a hold of Ken.
Perfect. Okay, anything left to discuss on Urchins LLC, either number 4 or number 5?
I don't have any. I'll make the motion if you want me to. I
Sure.
move approval for number 5. I move approval of the revised 4-lot CSM for Urchins LLC off Ole Court and Magoo Road as presented for lot line adjustment contingent upon receiving a $50 fee to the town of Hudson. That's my motion.
I'll
Do I
second.
hear it? Okay, we have a motion and it's Ken seconded it. Liz? Discussion? Okay, and again, I think we've looked at this so much. Is there any
Yes, I agree.
any further discussions on this or any questions?
No.
Okay, hearing none,
No.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? The motion's carried.
Great, thank you. Say, Don, can I have you, when you have a chance, sign and date a copy of that preliminary plat so I can, and just have you drop that off at either at St. Croix County or at the town hall, and I can pick it up from Vicky because the county will want to see a copy of that.
Why don't you drop it off at the town hall, Don, and you can drop the $50 check off when you pick it up from Vicky.
Okay,
But you'll have to
Yep.
give Vicky a call because the hall is locked. Tell her
Yeah,
when you're
everything's
coming.
locked up.
okay, yeah, yeah.
Just give me a call and we'll try and work out a plan.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. Appreciate it.
I mean, either at the town hall or, so were you thinking as soon as tomorrow then, Ed?
No, no, sometime in the next, 3 or 4 days,
Okay,
next week or whatever. Yeah,
okay, because Vicky would still be there tomorrow on Wednesday. But
okay.
if we don't
Yes,
need,
she should.
yeah, if we don't need Vicky
Yeah,
there,
if not, we can do it early next week.
okay. You
So,
just give me
no.
a call.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate it. And I
Okay.
think that's all I had on the agenda, so I will leave you guys to it.
Yes. Thanks,
All right.
Ed.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, now we're gonna move on to Hartman Development, 3-lot CSM off from Hermes Road. And let's see, Mike, you might want to unmute your microphone, Mike, if you want to talk to us.
Unmuted.
Okay, and is Ty going to,
I got this one done.
oh, you do, okay, good.
Yeah, Doug.
Oh, yeah, Doug, forgot about you, Doug.
Doug, you wanna,
Sorry about that. There's too much on the screen.
Doug, you wanna
Okay.
go through it?
Yeah. So what's before you is a certified survey map to create basically 2 lots that Mike will be able to offer for sale. And then lot 3 is all the remaining property of which his storage building is on at the moment. The certified survey map will also dedicate the road to the township. The name of the road is Hartman Circle. We'll also create all the drainage easements and everything else on that to convey all the storm water that comes from Highway 12, or that it'll follow all those swales and everything in the large storm pond that's already been constructed out there. Again, it's commercial light industrial property, and not sure what else I need to say about that. I think we've got all the county's comments covered, the DOT questions covered. Yeah, and I think you guys are pretty familiar with this since you've been along the whole way, so.
Yeah, so anyway, you made some slight changes on here. That doesn't change the ultimate use at all. Is that what you're saying then? I mean, in terms of the expected tenants and so forth?
No, as far as the lots changes, or I guess which changes are you?
Yeah, I'm just talking about the lot changes themselves, yeah.
I think, well, we've seen several iterations of concept plans, I think, on this. So, I mean, I think these were the 2 lots that Mike has decided to put up for sale at this time. And I can't remember, they may have changed slightly, but they're still going to meet the town's and the county's area requirements.
Are you, yeah, do you want a little bigger picture outlook of the whole project yet and kind of tell you guys where we're at this point, or?
Well, yeah, if it's okay with everybody else, it'd be kind of nice to get just an update as far as, how things look. I mean, we were talking about I think it was kind of an HVAC person that was in there and was interested and so forth. So, I mean, essentially, what does it look like at this point?
Yep, so HVAC guy is 100% in, right, Jessica? He's putting, he's giving us some earnest money on that property. So he's lot number, Doug, what is that?
Lot 2.
Lot 2 or 3? He's 2.
No, he's lot 2.
We're 3.
Yeah, you're 3.
Okay. Yep. So he's still lot 2. Okay. And then convenience store guy, BP potential on the corner, although he's kind of sitting on his hands right now with this coronavirus thing. So, but he has, him and I have had some strong conversations, and he's worked through the process with his company regarding layout and pump design and some of that stuff. So that's kind of the 2 knowns that we have. We're still reserving all of the frontage for some high-end office space, and that would probably be the next thing. And we're as well kind of sitting on our hands for our office building until we see where our business goes here in the next 6 months or so. But we still do plan on putting our office building on that corner. Would be the south, just north of the residential 1 acre guy there, right in the corner, and then leaving that road frontage still for some nice higher end office product along there. Storage units are going well. Breaks my heart to put up storage units. I know you guys got a ton of them, but those big storage units are going well. So we're in for another couple buildings on those right now with state approval. So we'll continue on that kind of south side all the way, probably maybe hopefully up to about 6 buildings total is where we'll probably land on that, building that out toward the retention pond.
Which lot was the BP?
Lot 1.
One,
Lot 1 in the corner.
And where would all that?
storage buildings, heated or cold?
Heated.
Are they all going to be heated? Okay,
Yep.
that's all I
That
have.
seems to be the key. Yep.
Okay,
So Mike, can you still hear me?
Yep. I can hear you.
I just thought for the benefit, I'd just put that in front of my camera. So there's your lot 2 with your HVAC guy.
Yep.
And then, so then lot 3, that will be subdivided at some future date to allow for potentially your office building or
Correct.
whatever else might go there.
Yep. Exactly it. Yep.
Okay, and
and
as
you
Doug
know that
mentioned,
if you go to 5, you'll have to bring in a major, correct, Mike?
Yep. That's what we talked about, right, Doug?
Yep.
Yeah. So we get
So-
one more, right? I mean, we basically get one more. So we
Yes, you get one more,
Yep. Gotcha.
Yep.
correct.
Yep. We're good with that.
Okay,
and Doug had mentioned, because this is just showing it as current conditions, so your parking lot today for your storage shows gravel, but at some point that will be paved.
Yep. I got a meeting with Monarch coming up here. When we do the town road, we're going to pave the first building, and I'll figure out where to stop for the second building. And yeah, we'll just continue on with that.
Okay. And we'll probably talk
and
about
Zach
that.
had covered that.
Yeah,
Say that again, Tim.
Zach had covered that with me.
Okay.
When we
Gotcha.
talked about what it was with the asphalt with I got the letter of credit worked out with him in the distance and all that, so I could get it in the motion.
Yep. Okay. Very good.
okay, good. So we've got, and that'll come up in your hidden waters too. There was a note running around today about using reused concrete and stuff as the base, so, but, okay, any other comments or questions for?
I guess the only other question is just kind of bring us up to date on how the sight line in terms of the neighborhood to the west there, and how that, what did we ultimately end up doing on that? I'm trying to remember.
So I met with Tammy and walked the entire property with her and Doug, and then she, I had never had it done, but they're actually, they're running the ship on the landscape screening around there. So it's through the county. I don't know if you guys are aware of that or not, but that's a county mandated. Doug, you can kind of talk about that a little bit. It's part of their ordinance. So we've got some trees that Doug had to draw on the plan, and they're actually going to require some escrow money until we plant those trees. Now, most of what Tammy talked about was the area around the 1 acre residential guy, in that southeast corner. She said that there's, for their ordinance, yes, there it is. So, and for their ordinance with the big buffer of their natural retention pond, and then there's that natural low area on the area by the where Kernan's neighborhood, his retention pond. There's nothing required there at this time, but she did indicate that it's going to be good for the town to, and this is that property that's south of Arrow. Okay, there's about a 4 acre piece there yet, Doug, right? 4.5 acres. It'd be north of, be west of the HVAC guy's lot.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, like there's another potential sale. Yes, Don, thank you. It's that piece south of Arrow, and that person, when we go in for approval on that, is going to have a lot of extra black dirt. And I talked about this way back at the rezoning. They can push all that black dirt to the back of the property and create a berm, and we'll put the landscape buffer on those guys. But as far as the county code is required, it's like there's nothing required on her end right now with all the natural distance between us and the residential.
Yeah, so I completed a landscaping plan, gave to Tammy today. And it's just part of the subdivision code, county subdivision code in their commercial standards. But also noted on that plan, I also noted that the town has the rights or the authority to require additional landscaping upon site plan approval. So you guys, every time you come in, every time a business comes in for their site plan, you guys can definitely require additional landscaping.
And there's one other part here, guys, and that is you remember that 66-foot road easement over by Lenore's? Houlihan?
Yes.
Okay. Don, you want to point that out?
Let's see here.
Lower left-hand corner.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it to,
Yep.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Okay. So Lenore is lot number 10 over there in Cedar Valley. And I've had half a dozen conversations with her, all very good conversation. And her and I have a good rapport. And we are going to plant some trees along there. And again, Tammy just wrote in her comments that, again, there's nothing required from the county due to the stormwater buffer, that storm pond buffer. There's so much distance between there and the commercial. But she encouraged us, is how she wrote it. So we encourage you to have a conversation with the homeowner on that lot, which is what I told her we're in the middle of doing.
So are you putting the trees on Lenore's lot?
That's a good question. See, and now that it's going to dry up, not this week, but next week, hopefully it'll dry up. I'll walk that with her because therein lies the problem. If we put them on Lenore, if we put them in a 66-foot easement, we could put them on the east side of that, right? Right at the precipice of the contours where they go down to the pond there, or we could put them on Lenore's, and her and I are just going to have to figure that out. But I think there's enough room right on the edge of that 66-foot easement to plant some pine trees along there, and that's basically what her and I have agreed to do. So, have you guys got an opinion?
Normally when I'm out with the boot camp, I clear 66 feet.
Yeah.
So the only thing is today that isn't going to be an issue because that road isn't there unless the land to the south develops into commercial light industrial. Otherwise, if it develops into residential, then that road would go through. Today it wouldn't be an issue with those pine trees, but down the road it might be, in 20 years, if they start to approach the edge of the right of way on the road, on the traveling public.
Doug, have you had a copy of the topo and how much, what do the contours look like on the edge of that stormwater pond as far as?
You'd probably have a little bit of room just outside the right of way to plant trees.
Okay. So we'd probably have you stake that at some point, and just see how much flat area we have.
if you did have room to plant trees, you could control it. If it's planted on a residential lot and that's resold and the people cut it down, or at least this way you'd control the landscaping and the replacing trees and keeping them alive.
Well, I also have a feeling that Lenore might prefer them to have the road screened too, or any future road screened. I don't know.
That's a good point. So I just have to talk to her, and I haven't really had that discussion on which side of the road, and we may have kind of brushed the subject, but we didn't really go into detail on it. So, but something will be done there. I've given her my word. So.
I don't know about the rest of the board, but I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other.
No, to me, it's more a matter of, what the landowner would like,
Just a heads up, Mike, I had a conversation with Lenore last week, and I think she might have a new phone number.
She gave it to me.
I don't know if I wrote it down. Did she give it to you? Okay,
Yep,
that's
I
all
have
that
it.
mattered. That was my only thought. Okay,
Yep,
good.
yep.
I would be definitely work with her and make sure she's happy. I would
That's the
try
plan.
not to put them in that easement if you didn't have to, but
Right. Yep. No, I think the point is we don't want them in the easement. So if it can be right on the edge of her
Right.
property line, if that's where she wants them. And then like Doug said, she can control them and do whatever she wants. And then it gives her screening if that road ever gets built. So.
Yeah, I'm cutting out.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on that?
No,
Okay,
I'm having issues
you
here.
ready for a motion?
I am, and then we can still discuss it after that. Tim?
Yes.
Good.
Okay, this is a long one. It's got 14 points.
Okay,
I move approval to three-lot CSM for Hartman Development off of Hermes Road with the following conditions. Number one, plat view fee rate of $350 a lot for a total of $1,050 to be paid to the town of Hudson. And Mike, I will give you the total at the end.
Okay.
Road number two, road signs totaling $725 to be paid by the developer, including all street signs, stop signs, and road name signs, plus the cost of any other signs deemed necessary. And that's what we would find out with the final plat of first phase. Number three, second lift of asphalt and shoulder for 636 feet of roadway to be named Hartman Circle. We will need a 1-year letter of credit for $14,916. Number four,
What's
the
that dollar
developer shall
amount?
pay
Excuse me, Tim, what was that dollar amount?
$14,916.
916, gotcha.
And they have all the information on how to fill out the letter of credit. Vicky gave it to him today. Number four, developer shall pay $50 to the town of Hudson to cover the cost of acquiring a registered copy of the final plats. Number five, the subdivision CSM is also subject to the approval process of St. Croix County Development. Number six, developer shall pay a fee of $500 to cover the cost of St. Croix County blacktop inspection. Mike, Vicky said you got enough funds left in the monies that you've already given to the town that we'll take it out of there, whatever the amount comes for the final inspection of the second lift and the graveling. Okay.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Number seven, the town shall provide with a blanket easement to provide inspection, maintenance, or repair to the retention ponds, drainage ways, and culverts within the CSM as required. Number eight, the developer shall pay the town $125 a lot for a total of $375 to the town for administration stormwater maintenance fees. The developer shall remove any previously existing field accesses or driveways not going to be used. Number 11, classification of all roads in the CSM shall be set as a Class E highway. Number 12, final approval contingent upon all fees being paid within 1 week of the CSM approval. And number 13 is the fire/house numbers, $60 a lot for a total of $180. And number 14, all comments from the March 19th, 2020 letter from the community developed must be satisfied. And the total fee, Mike, is $2,380. That's outside of that $500 that the inspection will be. That's the total you'll have to provide a check for. And that's it.
Tim,
So
What
you'll
was
need a
that?
second.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, finish your motion. Then I have a question.
do I hear a second?
That is.
I'll second that.
Okay. Now we can discuss. Mike, you had a question?
What was number 11?
Classification of all roads in the CSM shall be set as a Class E highway. it's a little confusing. The town still calls town roads Class E highways.
Okay, gotcha.
County has a different classification for them.
Okay, got it. Okay,
And
fair
I
enough.
don't remember what the, okay.
Doug, just so you know, Doug Zoller is calling me. Let me take this and see what he's got. He disappeared, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Doug? You did. Can you click back on the link? It's trying to connect again. Well, we got through it without you. It actually went smoother.
And he didn't even have any wine.
Okay. So, well, we just got through the motion, so go ahead. You're out of it otherwise now, right? Because Ty is next, right? Okay, so yeah, you can keep trying, but the motion's gone through, so we're good. So I'll just keep trying. Okay, thanks. Yeah, bye.
Go home a glass of wine.
Exactly. I think he wanted a glass of wine. So
Is he gonna try and come back in, Mike?
he's trying right now.
Okay, all right.
So
no
keep an
problem.
eye out for him.
I'll keep an eye on it.
Okay.
There was a motion made, a second. There was a question that Mike had. My only question, just going back to the landscaping and the letter, the March 19th letter. I think we've covered all that. But did I hear that in your motion, Tim? I'm just curious because it talked about.
Is all of that data in the March 19th done with the community development, Mike?
Oh,
Okay. Question again was what?
This was the landscaping
March
addressed
19th
in the
letter.
community development letter.
Yeah, the letter that we've got from St. Croix County, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was, yes. So I don't have the letter in front of me, but what's the question?
it was sent to Doug. It's dated March 19th, and it talks a lot about. I'll just read the top three.
Yeah, can you hold it up and just hold
Sure.
it up and show it to me because I'll recognize it.
If I can read it at the same time, but I'll do my best here. Let's see. So
It's from Sarah, right?
yes, to Doug,
Yes.
and then it talks about fairly extensively landscaping.
Correct.
Let's see if I can read these. Landscaping plans per chapter 13.7, specifically abutting residential areas, that's B.
Yeah.
And then C says if plantings are not installed prior to approval of final, a landscaping schedule may be specified in a developer's agreement. And then D is identify landscaping provisions for the town of Hudson zoning code. An agreement may be an option to address the screening, planting, and financial assurances. This is an attempt to avoid unnecessary duplication of landscaping standards. I'm only bringing that up now because it just, I know you're going to talk to Lenore, but if we could just make sure we cover that, then there won't be any misunderstanding between you, the town, and the neighbors.
Right. So yeah, so Tammy, like I said, those are the provisions that we met out on the site and walked the entire site, and she mandated screening between us and the residential guy, the 1 acre piece on that southeast corner. Okay, so some additional screening there. And then she did not mandate anything else, but she wrote in her letter to me and Doug, which you may have a copy of that, but that and Doug drew the landscaping in around that 1 acre piece, and then encouraged us to basically meet with the landowner. She listed Lenore's address on there and work something out on that. And I don't think she wrote this, but I think the discussion was that when we develop that area, that lot south of Arrow, that dirt would get pushed and there'd be an opportunity for some more landscaping between there, and that the township could probably handle that with their site review.
Tim, it's your motion. Are you comfortable with that, or you want to put an extra sentence in your motion?
No, I'm okay with what you guys discussed on the landscaping. Number 3 in there, Mike, is were there any benchmarks established in this construction? If so, put them in your as-built plan.
Yep, Doug took care of all that. If he could be online, he'd speak to that, but that's all has been taken care of. He had the surveyor out there and took care of all that.
Okay, the number 4 was the town road name, which you've identified, and they agreed to. Number 5 was, is there any covenants applicable to each lot? And if so, provide a draft copy to the county. Was there any covenants that you know?
We haven't created any covenants for that yet. So I guess the answer at this point is no, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we won't create some covenants here at some point. Right, Jessica? I mean, it's a little different for us because we've got a lot of sort of boilerplate covenants for residential, like we'll use in the Shank Lake project, but for this one, we don't have anything yet.
Okay. And that was what she asked for there. Number
Right.
6 was, has review from Wisconsin Department of Transportation been received regarding additional access to this intersection? Have you guys talked to the DOT?
Oh, yeah. Yep. So there was quite a conversation there too. And Sarah drafted a letter, and I guess a lot of this stuff, like I said, we can forward on to you, but she basically, so they sent a letter and it was kind of confusing. So I ended up talking to a gal named Jill Proud, and Mark was another guy. And they basically said, they cleaned up the confusion, and Sarah was content basically saying that like they did not want any access off of Highway 12, okay, for any of these lots. So that was mandated by the DOT. Anything beyond that was strictly up to the township.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I'm okay then, Don. I'm okay then.
So you're, all right. Anything, so nothing to add or detract from your motion? Been made, seconded.
Nope.
Any further discussion amongst the board members?
Good.
No?
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion's carried. Okay. So, don't go away, Mike. We've got hidden water. We've got hidden waters coming up. Ty, I've done my. Is Ty still? Ty, can you still hear me?
I'm here. Yep.
I've done my best to show these little CSMs on my camera, but at the risk of crashing it, you might, as you visit with us, you might put up that one graphic that shows your lot, all of that. I know you have the ability to do that. Well, let's start with. I'll tell you what. Let's do this. Let's start with the 2-lot CSM.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a simple one.
That's the simple one. Let's make it easy on ourselves, okay? So we can do that. We can do this for discussion purposes.
Can
there
you
you
see
go.
my screen
There
there?
you go.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah. My map is a lot prettier than my face, so I'll just put that up and let you guys see that. So this is the 2-lot certified survey map. It is revised probably from the copy you had. The main difference is after discussion with the county surveyor, we just excluded the land that's underneath the lake out of the map because it's, in effect, it's owned by the DNR. It would show up on the tax rolls and be confusing with these lots. So we just elected to say the shoreline is the boundary, and any lands that lie under the water are just subject to Wisconsin trust doctrine. Other than that, certified survey map is pretty much the same. The one change that happened between initial concept and when this came through with review is that we had Jeff Durkee come out. We set some stakes for the driveways. Initially, we had a joint drive between lots 1 and 2 here. And Jeff was good with the idea of getting single driveways. The site distance is good for both of those 2 locations. So that's really the only change that we've had kind of going through the process from where these 2 lots started out.
And the driveways are where the arrows are, correct?
Yep, the driveway is where the arrows are, right by where my pointer is, and then down here it seems to transition to a text pointer. But yeah, basically just south of the lot line into lot 2.
Okay.
And that's kind of an existing entrance point right there visually.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions, or should I make a motion?
Nope.
Well, I
that
make the
looks
motion,
good.
then we'll cover it.
Yeah,
I move approval of the,
I was just gonna say, Ty, can you give us our screen back?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep. Let me just get back to that point. Okay, there you go.
okay.
I move approval of the 2-lot CSM for Hidden Waters off 100th Avenue with the following conditions. 1, plat review fees at a rate of $350 per lot for a total fee of $700 to be paid to the town of Hudson. Number 2, the CSM is also subject to the approval process of St. Croix County Community Development. Number 3, the town shall provide with a blanket easement to provide inspection, maintenance, or repairs to the retention ponds, drainage ways, and culverts within this CSM as required. Number 4, the developer shall remove any previously existing field accesses or driveways not going to be used. Number 5, the final approval contingent upon all fees being paid within 1 week of the CSM approval. Number 6, the fire/house numbers are $60 a lot for a total of $120. And number 7, all comments on the March 16th, 2020 letter from community development must be satisfied. And the total fees, Mike, are $820. The 700 plus the 120 for fire numbers. That's it. $820. That's my motion.
I just had one thing, I guess, to jump in there. I don't know when the 350 went into effect, but this was one lot done in 2010 that kind of encompassed both of these. So I don't know if that would have been paid for this property at that time. There was a soil test, and basically there was one lot created that was everything pretty much to the east of the lake here. So I don't know if that factors in, or if you guys collected that fee in 2010. Might have been.
What? Let me say, we'll have Vicky and Chris look that up. If there was one fee paid with that in 2010, then it would be just one fee of $350 plus $120 for the. So that will be reviewed, and once your payment is ready, I'll have Vicky and Chris look that up tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Tim.
Very good, thanks.
Okay, Tim, is that the extent of your motion?
Yep. Yes.
Do I hear a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Dan Fosterling.
Thanks,
Okay.
Dan.
And for discussion, I want to take one moment on discussion to fill in the community, if you will. I'm just going to try and put this up. Ty, you don't need to steal my screen here.
Okay.
This is lot 1. And if you see those little marks where the ordinary high water level is, you know, it shows it's 75 feet back from the ordinary high water level. And then it shows where the water's currently when you guys were surveying it. So here's the 75 foot setback from the ordinary high water level.
Mm-hmm.
And here's where the water is today when they were out there. And this is a general discussion. I'm just filling you guys in. I've had 2 calls this week from Indigo Ponds. And, you know, some of those lots are out there like a bowl or a colander. But the water table keeps rising in this area. And the one gentleman couldn't get to his house. He's going to have to build up his driveway. That retention area filled up, way up. I went drive through it with my 4-wheel drive. And the other guy is coming up that he's getting water backed up in his drain field and his septic. So I'm only just adding this discussion that for all the consultants and everyone that's on here, we have to take the county and the DNR and everyone at their word as to what the ordinary high water level is. But just as you're building these homes, if there's any way to keep them as far away from those setbacks as you can, I just don't know what'll happen in the future if this lake starts filling up too. So that's what I'm just.
There's no outlet. There's no outlet out of this lake, is there?
No.
No.
Right, Ty?
That's correct. And that's actually a subject that my engineers have have done a lot of work on and agonized over quite a bit because there isn't an outlet here. And what we did, we modeled this based on the current water level to get the LBO elevation, which is lowest building opening allowed.
Right.
So we modeled that based on a back-to-back 100-year critical storm event, and then went 4 feet above that level. So that's pretty much figuring two 7-inch rainfalls on a frozen condition in the whole drainage area for Shank Lake, and then we added 4 feet so that, you know, because they were very leery about that same thing. Like if water levels are rising and we get some more of these, you know, drastic storm events, we need to get this thing up quite a ways. And so that's where we kind of modeled it. So our margin of safety, I would say, is the 100-year times 2 plus 4 feet for the homes. And the soil tests, we tried to make sure those were at least above the 100-year critical storm event, so that, you know, if something happens out here, probably the worst case scenario is that a septic system might be inundated, but it's pretty unlikely that we're going to get any kind of flooding for the houses, because the houses are set almost 15 feet above where the lake level is right now.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we got it into our public discourse.
Yeah.
And again, Indigo Ponds doesn't mean that this lake will come up, but it is a confined bowl without an outlet. And
Yep.
don't quote me on the exact numbers, but the one gentleman, you know, he was like a foot, maybe a foot and a half below the LBO, but his drain field and his septic were filling up. And that's a pretty scary deal. And the other guy, where his driveway, where you couldn't drive through it, further to the south, that was 4 feet above the ordinary high water level. So that was quite a bounce in there to deal with.
Yeah.
And just so you know, Ty, what Don's talking about here out at Indigo Ponds is the same thing that happened at Bass Lake and up at Shell Lake, where they're a bowl and there's no outlet. It isn't the frozen ground stormwater runoff into it that creates the issue. It's if you get multiple years of wet weather and the bowl just keeps rising with water and doesn't evaporate fast enough, it just keeps getting higher and higher and higher. And
Right.
up in Shell Lake, it contaminated everybody's septic all the way around the lake, and they had to pump the lake down eventually.
Right.
And same issue was up at Bass Lake, you know, but that's what Don's bringing up. You know what I mean?
Twin
Yep.
Lakes too, and Warren, they're having that problem.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
And Twin Lakes might be pushing that water up to Indigo Ponds. You know, that's not that far away.
Nope.
I think the only reason I raised it, I wanted to get into the public discourse. It's a concern. You know, at our town level, we have to rely, as I said, on the DNR and all the best engineering county minds and consultants. But just as a practical matter, Mike and Ty, you know, we want to make sure you're aware of that, because anything you can do to push those homes as high as you can, you should.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion on that? I don't want to be here all night on that, but I did want to share it. So, Tim, you have a motion on the floor, and Dan, you seconded it.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 The motion's carried. Okay, Ty, you're still there?
I'm still here. Yeah. Yep.
You're
I
kind
can.
of like Rod Serling, where you're taking control of our television set. You want to?
Sure,
You want
let's-
to put up your
Yeah. Let's do that
your
again.
graphic for? There you
Yep.
go.
So there's our plat of Shank Lake. I'm going to take a look at another document I had here. I'm assuming you still just see the plat at this point.
Yes.
So that we did get comments from county, and I believe this was 4/6, so it was after we had our plan commission meeting, I believe. But And I don't know, do you have a copy of that county comments letter, Don? Dated
let's
4/6?
see. All
April
the
6th.
Yes, I have it.
I have
Okay.
it, yeah.
So, I mean, I can go through these if you want me to item by item, or if you have questions, we can just look at the questions maybe. That would probably be easier. I mean,
Might be
most,
I'm okay with that.
Yes, I am too.
Yeah. Going through the April 6th letter, that sounds good.
yeah, okay.
And the April 6th email from Jeff Durkee.
And the April 6th email from Jeff Durkee too, yes. So we, number one item on their agenda was Town of Hudson approval. So that's, you know, what we're doing tonight. So we just need to get through any questions. Comments from the highway department. First thing was the intersection, which I'll just go down to it here. The intersection down here at Moonglow, McCutcheon, Alexander, and 100th. Because those are collectors, McCutcheon and Alexander are collectors, they wanted a larger radius on the inside corner between that road, which we'll make that change on our stormwater plan and our road plan so that we've got that corrected. The vision triangles was another thing that was Jeff Durkee's comment. That shouldn't be too bad because we've got drainage easements right on that corner where there'll be ponds. So we'll make sure that we have trees cleared so we've got, you know, a radial intersection there. I mean, obviously, adjusting this to be a 4-way is going to make it better than the awkward 3-way that it was. And what we'll probably find is because we put a pretty large radius curve on that intersection, that it's almost going to appear to be square when you're coming in there. And the other thing I would say is I'm assuming, and this is probably an input from the town, but that this will be a 4-way stop.
Yes.
Okay. So then it's less of a concern. It isn't, you know, you're on the outside of a curve and then people are going to be cruising around that curve at 40. They're going to be stopping from all directions. So, but even with that said, we'll still make sure we have clear vision triangles. The next comment from Jeff was there's an arch pipe that goes underneath this roadway near just east of the Alexander and 100th connection.
Yeah.
Jeff thought that might have been a cattle pass, but it really doesn't look like it. It's not quite big enough. It was like 71 inches tall, elliptical pipe, and about 40 inches wide.
I think that was an access from the Girl Scout camp up to the house on top of the hill.
Oh, so it was not a cattle pass. It was
no, the girls could walk up there without having to cross the road.
It was a kid pass. Got it. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll take that into account. I know the engineering guys were kind of scratching their head on it because it didn't seem to quite compute for what you would want for stormwater there. So that's still an item we've got to, you know, finalize and get addressed if we can remove that or if we can't at this point.
I don't think there's any problem as far as I know of in the town having that removed because it isn't a necessary item anymore.
Okay. Yeah, and it did kind of seem that way because the stormwater didn't really direct to it. It directed along Alexander and then across. So we'll look at that and see if we can eliminate that.
Okay.
Town would be okay with removing it as long as it's not a stormwater conveyance pipe. I'm
Correct.
guessing that.
Correct.
Okay. The next thing just had to do with culverts. We probably had metal pipe specified, but that's outdated and pretty much everything has gone to the HDPE. So we'll just substitute on the plans all for HDPE with metal end walls then.
Okay.
Driveway grades was Jeff's other concern. None of our driveways will be exceeding 10%, which I believe is the town is. Do you have a standard of 10 or 12 right now?
Well, you'd have
You
to ask,
remember, Liz?
Liz, I'll jump in. I think it's 12%, isn't it? 'Cause
Yeah,
didn't We adopt the county standards.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay,
And
Thank
that's
you.
where, yep, we don't have any that are under 10, or I mean over 10. So we're actually exceeding that county standard by a little bit. So that pretty much covers our item 2. Item 3 is addressed down in number 11 and number 12 below. So we'll get to those later. Covenants. I did talk to Mike, and he's getting a covenants together for this. I don't know if you have those complete yet or not, Mike, but I think you were close.
Jessica and I have been working on those, so we just gotta, we've got a good boilerplate set, and then we just need to adapt it for some of the lake concerns that we have. And can't remember what else was there, Jessica. It was the lake and
Well,
something
that was
else.
a majority of it. I can go through our list, but yeah, it's mostly having to do with the lake access and maintenance and.
That was it. Yep. So trying to maintain the lake quality, and we were going to weave in the county standards for what they can clear along the lake shore, and get that into our covenants as well.
So that covers that part of covenants. The next item was item A, maintenance and ownership for Outlot 1. That'll be owned by a homeowners association for all the lot owners, and responsibility will be lies within that homeowners association. So between the homeowners association documents and the covenants, that'll be addressed.
Just a
B was-
minor question. Is CSM going to be part of that covenant portion
That,
with the outlot?
the two over on the other side.
Yes. I just questioned it is all. I was curious.
So I think it has a little bit to do with timing. If we find that somebody interested in one or two of those lots, we're actually, if it doesn't matter to you folks, we might just ask them if they have an interest one way or another of being.
Okay.
We're
Yeah, it
kind of-
doesn't.
Yeah, we're kind of on the fence
Okay.
on that one. We don't really have an opinion.
And we don't enforce covenants. So I was just curious what was going to happen. So if somebody calls 10 years from now or whatever and says, how come I'm not part of that? I can say, well, it was a determination. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
no,
both
okay.
those lots.
Yeah,
Both those
I
lots
like
have their
your
own.
approach.
Yeah, both those lots have their own lake access, so they just may not want to be involved. And since they're detached, I could see that just being completely separate. So it's honestly, it's our goal to say, we're hoping we find a buyer who just combines both those lots into one lot would be ideal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then moving on to B, town approval for the joint driveway and draft agreement shall be provided for lots 14 and 15. Those, I can bring the screen back up if you guys need to see 14 and 15. We're up in the northwest corner. That's the only joint driveway we had, but because the terrain is so steep there, it works a lot better to have one joint drive than two singles. I'm not sure why go ahead, Tim.
And it looks like you ran the driveways all the way up to the buildable surface then.
Yes, that's
Correct?
the plan, is that those would be constructed up the hill through the steep portion so that, we don't come back in and open up that easily erodible, steeper slopes down the road. It'd be run up there to where it's done and building ready, basically.
Yeah, erosion control. Yeah, that way erosion control is all in place on those slopes. And we, as developers, we like to run the driveways to the locations as much as possible, just for that reason. So, and it's much easier to sell lots when you got the driveway in and you can bring people right to where they're going to be building.
Good.
Okay.
And next item was C, covenants for lots within shoreland overlay district and additional restrictions. I think we talked about that a little bit, that
Yes.
we would involve all that stuff in the covenants, and so it'd be double covered between covenants and county zoning. Item 5, road name, Moonglow Road, just follows with the rest of this road. So I think that's pretty straightforward. The county was requesting that the little stub be called Starlight. I don't see that there's any issue with that because eventually that would continue westward and probably tie into Starlight. Unless the town has other thoughts, we can just name it as such on the final plat.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I don't know at this time if that's the plan, but I'm okay with doing that because it makes sense. It makes good planning sense to do that.
Yeah.
Agree.
Agree too.
Okay. Then item 6, road connection to the west. That would be the Starlight again. Signage should be placed indicating a future road connection. And maybe additional barricades in our fencing after the gravel stub to limit access. So I think basically what the county's asking is that we build that out to the road right away. So we would put in radiuses and extend the gravel out to 33 feet off the center line, terminate it at that point, and then depending on what you want to see for barricades at the end, or if you would use that for snow plowing, everything beyond that would probably just be put to subgrade with no gravel, no bituminous going to the west, and just probably a layer of black dirt over so it could just sit and wait until such time as it gets developed, rather than having 200 feet of gravel road that people can go turn around on and dump appliances or whatever they might consider doing out there.
In Jeff Durkee's email of April 6th, he's got a number 7 there. He marks it as the west terminal of the future town road stub in between lots 15 and 16 should be delineated by 4 evenly spaced type 4 end of roadway markers. That's
Sure.
Those red diamonds. So he's requesting that in that email. Did you see that, Ty?
Yep. So, and I assume you guys would probably follow Jeff's recommendation on that.
Exactly.
Yes. Mhm.
The only thing I've done in one of them, when we did the Girl Scout camp, I only put 3 of them up.
Okay.
Because my goodness, they're $300 a piece. It's like, really?
Yeah.
They're expensive.
And you're good with the idea of taking that to the road right away and putting those barricades right at that point, the
Yes.
33 feet off center line? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see where we're at next. Next was a land use permit was submitted with this land division. Permit extends for 2 years. And if phase 2 extends beyond this time frame, a new permit will be required. Land disturbance or construction within the outlot. And I think that was something I've discussed with Mike a little. We're going to try to, whatever improvements we're doing in that outlot for the walking path and potentially the dock, we're going to try to address that in conjunction with the plat, so we're not coming back with another submittal. So right now, we're just kind of working through those details. So we'll have a few little, it's minor changes to the design plans, but it might be a little more silt fence and maybe a little bit more grading just in that trail area heading down towards the water.
So I have a question on that. So, we have that drainage pond there. Is that going to be changed, or is it going to be traversed somehow, or what's the plan with that?
Actually, the drainage pond, Mike was planning to build a boardwalk that traverses that as kind of a unique feature for the site.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, so bridge. Okay.
Yep.
Yep, so I'm working with an engineer on that right now. I've talked to it to be, I'm trying to create an architectural element that'll kind of look inviting to go down there, and something will be kind of interesting for the development, and it'll convert into a solid boardwalk then down to whatever we do down by that. I was going to talk to my partner on that, Jamie Group, and see once if we do some sort of a pavilion down there, or if we're just going to leave that open. So kind of to be continued on that one.
But there's a boat launch down there also, right?
So there's nothing down there right now. Is that what
No,
you're
I mean-
asking though? But
No,
we may
the
do.
intent was to have a boat
Yeah,
launch.
yep. Yep, we'll have maybe a couple of community canoes. We're going to, I think this lake, Ty, I don't, if you know, and Jessica, we talked to Jamie about this, but I think there's no motors on this lake right now, right? It's private lake, so I think we can mandate no motors, and that would be our goal. There's gonna be no gas motors on this thing, so it'll all be maybe a trolling motor at the most.
No, I believe that's correct. Yep. I don't think there's any, there's none other that I know of out there right now. And
Okay.
so that kind of tails into items B and C. So yeah, it'd probably be future structures or private boat launch. Those are kind of up in the air right now, but yeah, likely, you know, a community dock and a couple of kayaks, canoe. The next item C was existing dock that's underwater, be removed. And the answer to that would probably be yes. Well, you know, once we get out there, there's a few other things to clean up, and once we get on site, that'll probably get taken out of there. Item 8, contiguous buildable area, was 20-foot bluff line setback for shoreland figured into that. I don't believe that it was, but I know we had enough contiguous buildable area on those lots where we're not real close to the half-acre contiguous we need. I'm gonna just pull it up and look at that again real quick, but it seemed like we had enough on those. That's, yeah, that wouldn't be a concern because those lots have plenty of contiguous buildable area to work with. So it'll just be a calculation item to deal with there. Number 9 is, will residential building pads be completed at the same time as road construction? Yes, they will. Any pads that we had on our plans, which was majority, I would say, of pads, not everyone, but majority, are going to get built with the roadway. It just makes sense from a grading standpoint, from an erosion control standpoint, to kind of get these things in, stabilized. And like Mike said, you know, you can give someone a lot better picture of what they'll be getting if they've kind of got a driveway and they've got kind of a pad to visualize how their house is going to go in there. And you know, frankly, eliminate some of the other issues you run into. Like if somebody said, hey, I want to build right down by the lake, and we already know that if these lake levels rise, we could have issues. So the pads will be constructed, short answer. Preliminary plat number 10 shows the drainage units between lots 3 and 4. That is specifically just to get some of our stormwater out to the road so it can be treated. So that does belong there. Number 11, stormwater item A, typical details for infiltration basins. That was just a concern because some of the subsoils here are heavier, and so we would be making sure if there is a heavier subsoil that we cut through that to gain infiltration in our basins. So all the basins will follow that standard to meet the DNR requirements for, you know, quality soils for infiltration. Construction plans address basins offline or temporary settling ponds for infiltration. So typically what we do on these basins is we don't finalize until the upstream gradients are stabilized. So we pretty much leave a layer of about a foot or two of material in the bottom of those basins so that we don't end up with silt in those at the end of the project. So, you know, you typically build your ditches first, you get your ditches grassed in. Once those are stabilized, you come back and then, you know, skim the last layer out of the bottom of your pond so that it's got good sandy material and no silt at the bottom. And then, you know, then you're done. You seed that in and you don't have a bunch of silt running down the ditches into it. Verification C of infiltration capacity by engineer in the county. That we'll note that during construction. Number 12, double row silt fence. Plans are getting updated, so we include that where it's been asked for. B, high erosion potential on, and consider adding rock check dams on driveway 14 and 15. We will be doing that. It makes sense because it's fairly steep coming down that hill. Number 13, DNR permit is required prior to commencing construction. This has been submitted to the DNR, so we're just doing a concurrent review with the county and the DNR right now. I haven't seen final comments back from DNR, but you know, once we get them, we just process them and make the changes they request. 14 is that once construction plans are approved, we need bids for stormwater and erosion control. Counties is 50% for their stormwater and erosion control. For the road, you guys still ask for 120%. Is that correct? I think it's 120. I know different towns have a little bit different, but for your road construction letter of credit, I think that's right.
What we're looking for is $35 for the 2 lifts and $6 for the shoulder for the lineal length.
Okay. That's what you require for letter of credit?
Yes, yes.
$35 a foot?
So if you got, yeah, so if let's say you put your first lift in before you came back for final plat, then we'd be looking at $17.50 plus the $6
Okay.
per lineal foot. Okay.
35 plus 6. Okay. So then we just need to figure our lineal foot off the plan, and that's our letter of credit for the roadway. All right.
Yep.
Sounds good.
2 years. 2 years.
Okay.
And normally, what we did with the one on the 3 lot was we only required 1 year because Mike was going to do that right away this spring.
Sure. And I guess right now that's that'd be a question for Mike. I'm not sure where we're going to be at once we get approvals, if this thing's going to get pushed forward quickly or not. Just kind of probably depends on market conditions, right, Mike?
Yep, correct. Yeah, I don't see anything happening for the next 4 to 6 weeks here potentially, but we'll see once. We do have some buyers we're working forward. All I need to do is get a couple, 3 buyers interested, and we're off to the races.
Sure.
On the letter of credit, Tim and Don, do you guys, can we do a bond?
I believe so. Do you know, Don?
I don't know that.
Don't know for sure.
Jessica, we've got some insight on that because we've been through this before with St. Joe and Somerset, I think. So why don't you share what we know based on attorneys, dealings with attorneys, including Paul, who was our attorney when we did a neighborhood in Somerset.
Yeah, I think what we learned during both those times that a bond is an option that can be accepted. So I'm assuming Paul worked us through that with the town of Somerset. So I'm sure he would give you good guidance on that. But I would imagine it would be the same case. I think it's a statewide, from my understanding, it can be accepted. So in lieu of a letter of credit or a cash deposit.
So what I'd appreciate you doing, Don, is get a hold of Paul and do some upfront work with him on that so that when they come back in, we're ready for it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I agree. I was just thinking out loud here too. Hopefully our ordinance allows us to do a bond. I don't know how we worded that exactly, but maybe Liz remembers too. But if I will do that, Tim. I mean, if Paul's good with it, then he'd certainly satisfy our concerns. We just want to make sure that there's fidelity there. If something happens, that it can be finished. So,
Yep,
right.
Got it.
Okay. Good. Moving on to 15, pre-construction meeting will be required. And that, of course, we're a little ways off, but once we get all our approvals, we'll set that up. I assume it's, Jeff Durkee will be the engineering representative, and we'll let the town know and everybody else involved in on this when we do decide to schedule it. It'd probably be either a meeting like this or a site meeting where everybody maintains their distance, depending on what everyone is comfortable with. And then we move on to item A. PE is required to oversee installation. Yes, we will have a person that does that. Driveways constructed through the right of way. Yep, driveways will all be constructed as per the design plans, and that's all at least through the right of way. And quite a few of these extend farther down. Nearest bluff line shall be flagged. When we do construction staking, we'll mark out these, the slopes and make sure there's not disturbance in any of those sensitive slopes, steep areas, or things like that. And then 16 is just a standard boilerplate note that St. Croix County reserves the right to add additional erosion control if needed. Usually that only happens if we have some issues, and so that's noted. So that's pretty much all the items we have from the county standpoint and from Jeff Turkey's standpoint. Is there any other questions?
I don't have any.
I don't either. Ken or Dan, do you have any questions before we go to a motion?
Yeah, no, I think it looks good. I just have a general question here, and it's not really related necessarily directly to this, but all of these homes will be built on pads, I understand, correct? And so, if there was a tornado or something, I mean, where would these people shelter?
Oh, by pads, basically that just means we engineer the area where the house is going to be by bringing in compacted soil. So everybody, unless somebody chooses not to have a basement, everybody still has basements. They're all
Okay.
still, in the, yep. So no problem there at all.
Yep, okay.
We're basically kind of creating areas where we can create lookouts and walkouts a lot of times. We're bringing enough dirt to build up a flat area where, okay, now this guy can have a lookout basement, this guy can have a walkout basement. And Ty, correct me if I'm wrong, there's probably half a dozen of them that don't have pads because the slopes or the contours are kind of good just the way they are, correct?
Yep, that's correct. And yeah, when we refer to pads, like Mike said, we're not necessarily building it so it'd be a slab on grade. We're just building a general flat footprint.
Okay.
Yep, that you can go, dig a basement into, and pretty much you're not disturbing the whole lot to get the grades around it to work. It's just, tailor-made to kind of sit a house in there and have a front elevation 8 feet higher than the back if you want to walk out, or 5 feet higher if you want to look out. So it's just kind of getting that grade real close to what somebody would envision. And we're working with Mike on these. He has a pretty good vision of where houses should go on the lot right off the go. So that's kind of why we do that. Is you can kind of pick these out and go, that's going to be the best building site. Let's get that shovel ready for a house, and pretty much deal with that up front when we've got bulldozers out there, rather than bringing a bulldozer back in every time to do this.
Yeah.
and moving a lot of dirt around. You just move less, and it costs less, and it's more effective.
So how, and then in terms of the bottom of the basement, then where does that go in terms of our high water level?
So that's, we've got the LBOs on all these lots, which are 907.9 is the lowest allowed opening that we have on any of these lots. The current water's elevation is at an 891. So we're basically 17 feet above that for any basement opening for a house right now. So from where the water is, which is, like Don said, higher than the ordinary high water mark, we're still up 17 feet from that to where we're placing these houses. And that was, like I said, that was one of those things that Zach and Matt really dug into, and had a fair amount of hand wringing about, just to feel comfortable with a number and getting it up fairly high. And that is part of what necessitated some of these building pads too, on like lots 8, 9, 7, because they are lower. So to make that work with a lookout or a walkout, we had to move a fair amount of dirt around and get that raised up.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a question about lot 2 with that farm dump. What is the scope of that? Is that fairly big, and how deep, and is that all going to be removed off that lot?
Yeah, that's all going to be removed. I did have one of my staff guys from Menominee does phase 1 environmental assessments, and he came out and took a look at it. his opinion. It's a lot of tires and, appliances and, old farm machinery and that kind of thing back in there, glass and your typical farm dump. But the plan is to go in there.
Buried?
Is it buried?
Is it all open?
Yes, it's all on the surface. It's a ravine, and it was one of those where they just drove back there and threw everything over the
Sure.
edge.
Okay.
There's probably a little bit of it that got buried just over the last 50 or 75 years. It didn't look to me like it's been active in quite a long time, probably pre Girl Scouts owning it. It's just been there. But the plan is to get in there with the skid steer, pull it all out. And then that's going to be basically almost completely filled in when we finish, when we're done grading with the road and driveway onto lot 2. But
Ty, does the road go over top of that area, Ty?
In part it does, yes.
Okay, yeah. So it'll all get taken out. It'll probably be more of a backhoe job where they'll do that and throw it in dumpsters or trucks and haul it to a suitable landfill, and that'll be it. Total excavating will probably do the work, and they're not going to put any roads or anything on areas that can't be compacted and engineered, with proper compaction. So it'll be done well.
Yeah, but just make sure I'd get all that off that lot too.
Yep, for sure.
Whoever owns that lot.
Yep.
All right. Any other general discussion? If not, I'd like Tim to move to a motion, and then we can still discuss it.
This is pretty boilerplate motion. There's not a lot of specifics to it. I move approval of the preliminary plat of Hidden Waters with the following conditions. Number 1, stormwater maintenance agreement is required. Number 2, this subdivision is also subject to the approval process of St. Croix County Community Development. Number 3, the town shall be provided with a blanket easement to provide inspection, maintenance, or repairs to the retention ponds, drainage ways, and culverts within the plat as required. Number 4, the developer shall remove any previously existing field access or driveways not going to be used. Number 5, all comments from the April 6th letter with community development must be satisfied. That's when you just went over. And number 6 is the emails from Jeff Durkee dated April 6th must be satisfied. And it sounds like you're going to do all that. We just want to make sure that it's all resolved before we approve the preliminary plat. Okay, that's it.
All right. Do I hear a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Ken seconded it. Any further discussion on it? Okay, and I'll follow up with Paul Mahler on that bond, Jessica and Mike, and then or if you hear more, let me know too. We'll see if we can get that accommodated. Okay.
The only thing, Don, I'd like to ask, just so they don't leave on us, before we even vote on this, because they might leave right after that. You kind of addressed it briefly, but when do you think you might come back, Mike, with the final plat? And the reason for that, Mike, is depending on when the social distancing is still in place, whether we'd have to do a remote meeting like this again for the May meeting, or can we wait till, so our plan is we'd wait till the approval for the preliminaries are required with a final plat to meet again. When do you think you might be coming in with your final?
Well, Ty, tell me about the process, because I thought the final plat was done are we in a position where after this meeting, if we get approval, we can and we meet all these conditions, can we do construction? Jessica, didn't we do final plat how does that work?
Yeah, that's correct.
You get preliminary. You got to get preliminary from the county too.
Right.
Then you can start. And then you can come back to us with final, but you can't get final from the county until all of your roads, the first level is in, all of the grass is started, and so you're probably a year plus away from the county final, but you may come back to us sooner. And the only reason for that is our time clock starts running. You know what I mean? And when you might come back to us.
So you guys consider final plat kind of when we have these final changes before we start actual construction? Is that correct? But
You can, yes.
County considers
Yes,
it at
you
the
can.
very end when we met all their conditions. Then they record it final with the county.
And one of their requirements is you have to have approval from us as a final plat from the town of Hudson. That's one of their final plat conditions. And we have just usually moved ahead on it before long before the county usually, as long as you're ready to move forward.
Yeah, and I think between preliminary plat approval and final plat approval, if I'm not mistaken, it's 2 years. So it's either, I want to say it's 2 years, and then the final has to be recorded within 6 months of its final approval. So likely I would see the time frame. We get this addressed, we'll address the county, the DNR comments, move forward, assuming we move forward with construction this year, you'd probably see a final coming through in the fall. If we said,
okay,
if Mike gets 2-3 guys biting and gets those houses, and we push the construction forward, I would expect you probably won't see a final plat anytime before August,
fall,
or September, maybe. Yeah, just depending on how quick they can.
That would help.
Roll on construction. Yep.
Okay, good.
All right, any other discussion? Been a motion made. It's been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion's carried. Okay. Jessica and
Thank
Mike,
you.
you can stay all evening. We saved the best for last. Ken, can you?
My
Drink
son
out
Oh,
of wine.
my office, wondering when dinner could be ready. So
Mike, you
Have a
bring it up
evening.
for the whole class next time.
All right. Well,
All
thank
right.
you guys. Sorry to take all the time here tonight, but I appreciate
Thank you.
working through all this.
yeah.
We haven't crashed yet, so just leave quietly so we don't break it.
All
All
right.
right, thank you, everyone. Okay, Ken,
Yep.
Ken, oh, good. Ken,
Yeah, bye.
can you hear us, Ken?
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you. Ken Tennant, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. And we can hear you and we can see you.
That's good.
Okay, good. Thanks for being patient with us and sitting through all these different plats that we've been working through tonight. You're actually our last item. Well, no, you're not. You're number 9, but you're as important as the rest of them. So maybe you can fill us in as to when you were here last time, and if the board doesn't mind, just to refresh everyone's memory. I'm just going to put this up briefly. We talked about this plan, and that you would go back and get a letter from your brother Steve and see if he would be interested in restricting his lot. So that's the only background I want to give, and then I want to hand it over to you. So could you fill us in from there, Ken?
Sure. Right now, me and my brother, and I want to separate from his driveway and divide my property so I can actually sell my house to my son and build me a house. And then, sorry, it says on my stable, or my connection is unstable, but I'll keep going. So we're trying to split the land, or split the driveway up in front there. I've got a letter from my neighbor, Gino, and Steve. Steve is the main one right down the driveway I'm sharing right now. Gino is right at the very front of the cul-de-sac. It's about 120 square feet of just right off the boardwalk. And that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, and from when you were here last time, so what exactly are you requesting tonight? Or just basically to update us, to visit with us and see where we're at as a board before you proceed with more engineering and legal fees? Or how would you?
As far as I know, I'm trying to get the driveway okayed with you guys. The split of the driveway from what it is now to what is on the drawing.
I think the issue was some of it was the ownership, you know, and what was the easement, what was ownership, and that sort of thing. So where are we at now on that?
Every time I've brought up me owning the property, everybody keeps telling me it's easier to get the easement. I can buy the chunks of property that I need. But everybody keeps telling me it's easier to get an easement than it is to own the property. I'm not sure why that is, but that's what you guys have said in the last board meeting. And the county has also said it, and the surveyors have also said it.
I believe that's correct.
Mhm.
And I think Vicky assumed anyway, when she wrote this up for me, that we're approving the CSM tonight with what he's brought back now.
Okay.
Okay, I think that could certainly work. I think we just, depending on what the motion, I want to make sure, back to Paul Mahler, that we have, you know, whatever agreements that you have with your brother and your neighbor, you know, that has to be legally vetted, and then that would be attached to your plat, you know, as a deed restriction. So I'm just going to put this one last graphic up. This was from before, so you yourself would be building on lot 6 then on this graphic.
Correct.
Okay, and your son would be buying lot 5.
Correct.
Okay, and then that easement would come in just to the south of that shed that we talked about last time.
Yeah, you should have another copy of a print there, I hope.
Yeah, we do.
I do.
Yeah, I did, but I just wanted to show for the people that still left where your
Yep.
buildable area would be.
Yes.
And this would go to 66 feet here. Right there. Let me see if I have a better picture of that. Let's just try this. Right there. So are we all talking the same language tonight then?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I think my concerns, I don't know what the board is, but my concern is if the, as I said before, families break up and families pass away, and we need to be planning for what these lots would look like, you know, many decades down the road. But from everything we've talked about, I think my concern, as long as we have adequate legal definitions that are approved by our town attorney and Ken's, and his brother and the neighbors that can be attached to the final plat that's recorded, I think that's where I am tonight.
Sounds good.
Okay.
That would be my next
Looks
step to
good.
get done.
Okay, how about the other board member, just kind of polling them before
I-
we go to a motion?
I don't see any problem with it. I think it makes sense for him if that's what he wants to do.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm fine with it also.
Tim, are you ready?
So
to
you
make
ready for a
motion?
motion?
Yep.
I
I am.
Okay,
I move to conditionally approve the 3-lot CSM for Ken Tennant at 932 Chippewa Path with the following conditions. 1, plat review fees at a rate of $350 a lot, totaling $350 to be paid to the town of Hudson. And Ken, I'll give you that total at the end of this.
Okay.
Number 2, the developer shall pay $50 to the town of Hudson to cover the required registered copy of the final CSM. 3, this CSM is also subject to approval process of the county, St. Croix County Community Development, and need an updated TRT letter. That's way back on that October 4th letter. You'll need to go back and have Sarah update that and make sure that she's agreed with all of the stuff, Ken. Number 4, the town shall be provided with a blanket easement to provide inspection, maintenance, or repair to the retention pond, drainage fees, and culverts within the CSM as required. You'll have to probably talk to Tammy and have her look at that in that TRT letter to see if there's any stormwater that you're going to have on your lot, Ken. That's what that's referring to. Okay. Number 5, the developer shall pay a fee of $125 for the administration of stormwater maintenance if required by St. Croix County. So that's only if Tammy decides that you need one. Okay.
Okay.
Number 6, the developer shall remove any previously existing field accesses or driveways not going to be used. Number 7, the final approval is contingent upon all fees being paid and receipt of approval letter from St. Croix County Development of the CSM approval. And number 8 is $60 for a new fire number, house number, totaling $60. And number 9, all comments from the St. Croix County Development must be satisfied before it's signed off on in the CSM. So if you don't need the $125 administration fee for stormwater, it's $450. If you need the $125, it'll be $585. That's the total that you'd need to provide Vicky when Don signs off on the CSM, when everything's done, Ken. Okay? And that's it for the motion.
So I would just ask Tim if perhaps we could modify your motion just a tad. Remember when we talked last time on lot 7, which is Steve Tennant's lot, I'm back to conditioning. You know, one of the conditions was that he would not subdivide lot 7. And that's that legal document that we have to have approved between our town attorney and that final document. Steve submitted a letter that said he would agree to this, but you know, that's not adequate to be.
That's just a driveway easement though, isn't it?
Yes. Now, if Steve
So
wanted
what
to
you're asking,
I'm sorry. If
Go ahead,
Steve
finish.
wanted to separate his lot, wouldn't he have to go through the board anyhow? And couldn't
Well, he would. I'm just going by memory. I'm just saying last time we talked about not, because of all the steep terrain that's left on Steve's lot, you know, it looks like it's a 9-acre lot that you could be subdivided, but there's such severe slopes to the north. I could be wrong, but I think we talked about saying that Steve would grant.
We did.
easement
It's in,
and
you're right,
not
Don.
subdivide his lot.
Right,
I'm working
and
on that theory that when the families leave and we have new owners that come in and say, gosh, I've got 9 acres, now I can split it 4 ways. We need to have something that can track that.
But at that point, couldn't you guys tell him no, or whoever wanted to divide that? That's why I didn't push for that letter from him. Because who knows
Yeah,
what's
it's
going to
true,
happen down
Don,
the road.
because you can't have more than 3 on that easement. But it's up to you, Don, if you want that on there.
I would like
I'm
not
just-
to have to ask him that.
I'm
Because
just putting out, no, go ahead, Ken.
I was going to say, the big reason why I'm saying that is nobody knows what's going to happen in 15 years. The railroad might be gone, and that could be a road down there. And if that was the case, that would be a nice spot to build down there. But without with the railroad there and the way things are, you really physically couldn't build on his property.
That's a valid point.
Happened
With the
down the road.
railroad.
I'm sorry, what was that?
That's a valid point with
It's
the
a valid
railroad.
point.
I mean,
So what's your wish, Don?
No, I'm not pushing it. I'm just bringing us back to where we left last time.
You're right. That was in the minutes.
Right. So if we feel we don't want to do that today as a board, I'm not opposed to that. I'm just making sure we track through what these discussions have been. And Ken, I'm in no way arguing with you, but that
Right.
you know,
And
the
I just,
chances of in our lifetime of that railroad ever being abandoned or letting a road go in there, you know, to develop, probably slim and none.
yeah.
So,
But it would just stink if something happened down the road. And either way, you guys still have the final call on if he wants to do it anyhow. Am I correct in
Do you
that?
want us to put in, Don, do you want us to put it in the motion that lot 7 cannot be divided in the future without special consideration by the town board at that time?
I think we should. Yeah, I think we should
Okay.
try. I'd feel better. I think public wise, that would track with what our discussions have been. And Ken, that protects you and Steve then too.
Okay, yep. So he could, down the road, if he found a just reason to do it, he could subdivide the land then, if it was okay with you guys, or get permission to do it.
And Tim,
Like I
that's
said, if
basically,
something happened.
Yes.
Yeah. But just so we're totally clear, Ken, I mean, if I just want to be totally clear, you know, if there's some way to come around and start doing another one of these bowling alley panhandle deals of going, okay, I found a way to plunk a house in the northwest corner of Steve's lot before it goes down that steep ravine. And now we're going to come in with another easement to get back there and use the whole big ravine down to the railroad tracks of meeting the acreage. That's not what we're agreeing to today either.
Right, and I understand that.
Okay. Tim, do you have
Liz, can I read to you what I wrote for 10? And then you tell me if you think this makes sense. Number 10, lot 7 may not be subdivided in the future without special permission from the Hudson Town Board.
I just would indicate without town board approval.
Just town board.
Doesn't have to
approval?
be,
Okay,
doesn't have to be special consideration. I wouldn't think. I
Okay.
would think it would just be lot 7 may not be subdivided without town board approval.
okay. That'll be number 10 then.
Keeps it
Okay.
simple.
all right,
Okay.
do that. That's your motion. Any other changes or comments?
I didn't get a second, or you didn't do a second on it.
No, I haven't.
Correct. You haven't.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Right, yeah, well, you got into some discussion there, so I just wanted to remind you.
Okay. All right, so that's your motion, has 10, then you've added number 10 to your motion. Do I hear a second to that motion?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, Dan
here.
seconded. Now any further discussion on it? Ken, do you have any further
No.
comments from your side?
No, I think that that satisfies me.
It sounds like a reasonable conclusion to this.
Yep.
And then when you get closer with your consultants and everything, let us know so that we can see the verbiage that gets for our attorney to look on that deed restriction.
Okay, I will get that stuff all set up. And should I set up a meeting with you guys next or the county next?
I'd say the county.
Okay,
Yeah, you're
You
gonna
got
have
to get that TRT letter.
right.
I'll get all that stuff for the county, and then after I talk to them, I'll talk back with you guys.
Correct.
Is that right?
Good.
Don,
Yes.
Yes,
could I ask something here?
sure.
For clarification, just because of the changes with the county in the last year here, so easements are generally not allowed for driveway purposes, and maybe you guys have discussed this previously, and that's what the legal document is for, but it can be approved if the county will approve it if the town board specifically approves it. So have you specifically approved an easement for those driveways in a previous motion, or should it be included in here?
We discussed it, but we never previously approved it. So maybe, Don, we should approve it in this motion.
Yeah, it seems like we are. That's our intent.
That's the intent, but it doesn't
So we
say
should.
specifically. Well, that's why I want for clarification.
Well, then maybe,
We
Tim, are you
should
willing
add
are
it.
you willing to amend your motion, make another number 11 into it then too?
Yep.
That'd be-
Yep,
do it.
make number 11. We're approving this easement for these 3 driveways on this CSM.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Liz, you've got the language for it?
Got it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion's carried.
Just
Liz?
for clarification again there, I'm sorry, but Tim added that to the motion, then Dan, you did second just for the record, that you approve the addition to the motion?
Yes, okay,
Okay, and then you guys all voted and everything's motion carried.
yes.
And you ended up with 11 items, Liz.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ken. We
Hey,
appreciate
thank
you
you,
being here all night.
Thanks.
You can stay for us. We're going to have a resolution for the dam. You can stay and listen to that.
I think I'm gonna head out.
Okay.
I've got other stuff I need to get going on.
Thanks.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we haven't lost anybody yet. So Liz, now you're up. And I'm always careful as I introduce this because I always have to say, now we're going to introduce this dam resolution. So can you fill us in as to what it is?
If everybody recalls where the dam is between the village of North Hudson and the city of Hudson there by Lake Malibu, it's a project that was started last year, approximately, maybe January, February of last year. The idea is to go for a grant to cover costs up to 50% for the 4 communities that are involved. The city of Hudson being, or the St. Croix County being 50%. Town of Hudson is 10%, the village of North Hudson and city of Hudson are each 20% of ownership for it. We passed a resolution back in June of last year, June 4th of 2019, to go ahead and try for the grant with the understanding that Kim Peters, the utility director for the city of Hudson, was processing all the paperwork and so forth. That all got done, plans and specs, all the review process, historical idea review, all that was done. We received a note back from the DNR that the resolution didn't specifically use the language that they would accept for the grant program. So we redid the resolution that's in front of you, 2020-1, that includes the language that they need to meet the administrative code requirements for the cost sharing of the project. And it's just basically a minor word change from the previous one.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
Yes. Vicky said I should take the resolution number off the motion, just in case they don't want it in there, Vic, or Liz. So Vicky said just to move approval of authorizing the resolution for participation in the Department of Natural Resources Municipal Dam Grant Program, which is just the title. She said to do that as my motion. So that's my motion.
Okay, do I hear? You seconded it, Ken?
Nope.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, the motion's carried. Okay. Thank you, Liz, for helping with that.
Oh, thank you.
All right, I think we're just about done. Communication and items for future agenda amongst the town board members. Any comments or things we should be aware of? I'm not sure when we're going to have our next board meeting, to be honest with you. I think it's dependent on COVID-19 and what we have for applications and things. We have to somehow keep getting together to pay the bills and these normal things, but as we know more, we'll work our way through it.
I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on getting the town hall open partially, at least. At some point.
Are you saying for office hours, Ken, or?
Yeah, I mean, at least partially. I mean, at some point, do we do that or by appointment, or how are they doing it right now?
Right now, we're just
They're
doing
just locked.
They're just
Yeah.
closed, right?
But we are doing it by telephone and emails and those types of things. So
Sure.
my personal feeling, I think, I really try and follow Governor Evers' role, and then when the county's locked down and the highway department's on part-time basis, but if they start relieving us on some of these issues, I don't know about meetings yet. 10 people or more, or less, excuse me, that's kind of tough to to accommodate when we already have 5 board members and a clerk and a treasurer, so.
Well, we found this is working, so.
Yeah, I just feedback from the group. I'm relieved that we didn't crash, and I'm relieved that we didn't get boom bombed. So count our blessings.
Right.
Can I cover something? I'll try to be real brief. I've covered this with Don today earlier. It's dealing with our road maintenance and the new street signs I talked about. And I went and sat down with Vicki and went through our budget for 2020. We had $646,000 left. What we approved in March was $298,000 of additional maintenance for seal coating. And then we turned down that $89,000 because we didn't know what our maintenance cost for the spring was going to be for roads if they blew up or anything, or if we were going to have any additional snow plowing. We didn't. So I'd like to propose in May, and I will bring a spreadsheet in there with that, and I'll walk you through the numbers real quick here. That $89,000 would come back into $387,000. I talked to Matt Corbett today. If we left $100,000 in that budget for any other road maintenance that may need to be done in 2020, that's more than enough, he said, to do anything we're going to have to do this year. We leave $60,000 in there for snow plowing at the end of the year. Last year we spent 53, the year before 16, and the year before that 6. So 60 should be plenty. That total would be 547. And the reason I did this is that leaves $99,000 left. Mike's gotten one of the quotes back for the street signs. This year's would be 13 and next year's would be 10 for a total of 23. I talked to Joe Murtha today. We paid $30,000 in 2009 for all of the plates, so we're only looking at 23 for all of them this year. And it cost us $10,000 to do the county to put them up. Joe figures he can do it for 20. It would just be a double the rate for labor. He wasn't sure what it cost. So that'd be a total of $43,000, which leaves us still $56,000 in that account. And the reason we need to leave money in there is we don't know what all these elections are going to cost. But I'd like to bring a spreadsheet in when we're ready to talk in May to have everybody look at those numbers and approve hopefully the new signs and get them on order. There's 2 other quotes out, one from Fargo, North Dakota, and one from Lang, who we've been using for a lot of years. They're the ones that provided the signs in 2009. But that was the double plates. This is a single plate, like the rest of most of the towns in the county are using. Okay.
So those were a ton of numbers. I think we could, Tim, if
And
you
they
put
were.
that together, I'll get it on the agenda. Just to recap to what Tim was saying, because I had the benefit of the numbers. But if we do all the new signs that we need to do, the green sign with the white lettering, that's going to be about $46,000 we're estimating. Tim's doing all this, but about $46,000 today. They're already going to be out here chip sealing and doing all the work in this area anyhow. To the extent that we could find another roughly $89,000 in there to cover that, we wouldn't have to push that off. And we think we have enough money in our maintenance budget, but we're not going to short that or snow plowing. And then we'd still end up with 53, 56,000 in there because we don't know what's going to happen on the May 12th election or the November election, and these costs just keep.
Well, you got the August 8th one too.
Yeah, August 8th. Well, and our costs are phenomenal.
Astronomical this time, yeah.
Right.
And we don't know if we're going to get any state aid or not.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Dan?
Yeah, and just one other comment. We've had some brief discussion in terms of the whole concept of audit, and some numbers were thrown around about 5,000, 7,000 or whatever. And I've talked to Clifton Anderson, and they said that they normally do the Form C filing for $3,500. They do that in May. Now they have to kind of come out and do that. But when they come out, they would do the audit also for another $1,500. So the whole thing would be $5,000. So it'd only be another $1,500 to actually get a true audit by Clifton Allen. So I think we should put that on the agenda for next month.
What kind of effort does that require for records? Can they just go through the records and do that, Dan? Do you know?
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, they may have some questions and stuff like that, but for the most part, they're just going through the records. I mean, they're most likely they have to be on site, so it might be the whole thing might be pushed off a little bit, in terms of the timing. But
Okay.
Well, guys, let's do this, because this is just general for future agendas. But if both of you can pull together some numbers for us to look at, that would be helpful. And I can put it on the agenda for May whenever we meet. Okay. Anything else?
Tim, I know a while back you wanted help with some of them signs too. If you need help with that, just let me know. If you want to give me
I told Joe I could do it either. I could put them together or they could. I said, you let me know what you want to do. And he hasn't said anything yet.
Yeah,
the sign department.
I'm more than happy to help you out if you need me running around town.
Okay.
Looking at signs.
Okay.
The other thing is, I know it was communicated to us at Tanny Lane potholes. I don't know what the county schedule is, but those still haven't been filled. They're getting pretty bad. And then there is a signpost laying, and I know this is stuff that could probably be brought up after, but Starlight and Tanny Lane, there's a signpost laying from where a sign went down. It's laying in the ditch.
The street sign.
They put up a new sign, but left the post there. So I don't know if the county would want to come and get that.
Okay.
And I noticed
I will call Joe and have him come pick it up. They do. There's one out on Trout Brook and Golden Oaks Drive. I don't know why they don't pick those posts up when they're out there. You're right. I will call Joe and have him do.
The other one I seen one was Dorsey Drive and Prairie Lane. When I was putting signs up, I seen one out there too. The sign was missing and the post is laying there. Maybe check that out too.
Okay.
That's all.
Oh yeah. That they stole that sign.
Yeah.
So I decided nobody even reported it. So I just put it on the new order and said, hey, when it gets here, we'll replace it. So
okay.
And Joe has never put Mike always used to put those. His brother, who used to run the sign department, used to put all those signs up those poles up ahead of time. Joe leaves them down until such time as they're ready to put it up. So he leaves them in a ditch like that till he's ready to put them up. But you're right. Half the time they leave the old pole there and put up a new one. It's like, well, then take the old one with you. Don't leave it in the ditch. I will talk to
that's
you
what
about
they did.
that.
That's what they did at Starlight. I can grab it
That's
too.
exactly what they did.
If I need to, I can grab it too. I figured they might want it.
Okay.
Yeah, they will.
All right. And Tim was saying that was replacing this year, we can actually recycle the aluminum signs, Tim, rather than give them away.
Yep.
All right. Any other items? I mean, this is the time we can't meet in person.
Nope.
This is our next best thing. We can schedule these meetings. Need to do a special meeting. We can do them lickety split. So this is a good option for us. All right, I'm going to get ready to end the meeting. Liz, do you have any questions?
Yes, I did. If we can go back to comments from for any items not on the agenda, as a citizen of the town of Hudson, I would like to thank all of the board members and all of those involved that have helped to go through this process with all these changes and so forth that we've had to deal with. I thank you and I appreciate the efforts. But I would also like to specifically being involved with the elections and knowing the process and watching the announcements as to what's going on or not going on. I want to thank Vicki and Chris for all of the time and effort, and their families have given up for this process. And I know they're going to be continuing to have all of these issues as to what's going on and what's not going on. So appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Liz. Well, the other thing, Don, if I can mention, remember there was discussions about paying extra, that we'd go into closed session to do that?
Yeah.
Somehow we're going to have to work that into the schedule too.
We will. Yep. No, we haven't forgotten that.
Oh,
and
the annual meeting?
Well, the annual meeting we're going to push off. That's being bantered about back and forth now. Oh, you still there, Tim?
Yep,
Can you
my
still hear me?
battery's getting low. Yes, I can still hear you.
Speak real quick. You know, those things are still back and forth. The last correspondence we had, it had to be within 60 days from March 12th when the shelter at home order went out. But as soon as we know more,
Okay,
I'll let you guys know via email.
okay. And Vicky said, just so you know, set that date with Vicky, Don. And the reason for it is after the May 12th election, she wants to take some time off.
Oh, I
She's, I
agree.
just need, you know what I
Right.
mean? So just make sure you cover that with her when you set the date. Okay?
Yeah. And hopefully, you know,
That's
if
it.
that's so goofy, because if we're forced 60 days from March 12th, that would put us at May 12th. So, but we'll have to find
Right.
something
Yeah.
in there we can do it. So, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's time to end the meeting, and I don't think we need a motion for it. So, unless you guys
Well,
want
we
to do it,
usually, we always have a motion.
let's do a motion. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So,
So
be it.
Do I hear a second? I'll second that one. I have to second something tonight.
You can.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your comments, Liz.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, yep, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Good night.
Right.